People who have straight-up rage quit a job. What was the final straw?
Many years ago, while working in a manufacturing facility, my boss came into work already pissed off because his wife served him divorce papers. Saying good morning was apparently enough to set him off, and he picked up a wrench from the table and threw it at my head. I ducked. It missed. Then I just closed my toolbox and wheeled it to the truck. LOL.
I think I know why she served him divorce papers.
Hope she didn't do it in person.
Dipshit is lucky he didn't connect. That would have been a hell of a police report and lawsuit.
Could have possibly been a police report and lawsuit anyways. Isn't attempted also pretty bad?
Cracked skull and a bloody wrench with fingerprints is easier to prove than the guy threw a wrench at me intentionally but missed.
Not me, but a colleague once wrote a long stinker of an email, hit send at 10:30 a.m., and exited the building immediately. He blind copied all receivers, but sent it to multiple departments of a large multinational I was working at. No one knew who did or didn't get the email, except for the gasps and oh my gods around the office. He was completely disgruntled and went in on multiple managers, supervisors, and various colleagues with absolute venom. It was amazing. Still the best work email I've ever received, and some shit he called out actually had to be addressed by management. It brought about a lot of positive change. If you're out there, Khalil, that was awesome.
We had a coworker do that too. She was the accountant and exposed a lot of sketchy stuff that was being done in multiple areas, and all the stuff she overheard. The CEO had to address the whole company about it because no one knew who did and didn't get the email.
My brother, who had a career in accounting and finance, once told me that when the accountants and bookkeepers start quitting, you should probably get your resume in order.
As someone employed in finance, this is 100% correct. They're seeing the data day to day. They're the first to be fielding calls and emails from unpaid suppliers. If they're out the door without something surprisingly good to walk into, go.
This was 20 years ago. My fiancée had been hospitalized for 16 months after a car accident. When she passed away, my boss would not let me have time off for bereavement because we were not legally married.
God, that royally fucking sucks. My boss made me come in when I called her that morning before my shift, openly sobbing on the phone, saying I needed the day off to grieve because my friend just died of cancer. She had the temerity to say, "It's not a good time right now for you to call off." And I about screamed, "Yeah, it's not a good fucking time now that my friend died." When I got to work, she tried to play the sympathetic peer while I'm still crying because I hadn't stopped even during my commute. Fuck that greedy bitch.
I called out when my parents had it out for the final time before they got divorced. I needed to be with my mom. I called my boss and told him I wasn't going to be there and why. He then asked, "So why can't you be here?" I hung up.
I was screamed at for wanting time off for my mom's burial because you already had time off for the funeral. The funeral was one weekend, and the burial was the following. I worked Monday, Friday, but those 2 weeks they wanted me in on Saturday and Sunday too. I told her she could fire me if she wanted, but I'd see her Monday. She tried to make my life hell, but when everyone else found out about it, they made her life hell, and she quit a few months later.
I never have, but my favorite example was when a co-worker in student transportation, who had finally gotten a position she wanted after years of suffering through stress in another, was called by management over the summer and told she was being reassigned to the stressful position because no one else wanted to do it. She had fought too long and hard to get what she wanted, and her immediate response was, "Then tell me what I need to do to resign." She did, and she's been at peace with her decision ever since.
Holy shit, I've been there. It ended up working out, but kind of the same thing. I found out I was denied a bunch of promotions or transfers because my boss in the deli needed me too much to let me go. I called the manager, union rep, anyone who would listen. My proposition was easy enough. If the department can't stand to lose me, then the entire store will. I had a lot more reasonable arguments, but I think I had them with that. I start my new position Monday.
Never understood this mentality from management. "We can't promote you. You are too valuable in your current role." You say in return, "Well, then I quit." They willingly let acknowledged good employees walk from the company rather than reward them for doing a great job.
I was waiting tables while I was in graduate school. I had requested a weekend off far in advance, right after I got my syllabus, because there was a seminar pertinent to a class. Our professor expected us to go and write a paper. It was a decent chunk of our grade. The weekend comes up and lo and behold, I'm scheduled doubles Friday through Sunday. I hunt down the manager and say, "I can't do that, and I've given months' notice." She pulls the "requests are just requests, not guarantees." And I tell her point blank I will fail this class if I don't go. She shrugged, she said, "That isn't my problem." I told her, "Is now," and left. Like hell, I was going fail a class for my master's degree waiting tables at a fucking rainforest cafe.
I really don't get why managers act like this. Why be a jerk? I know it's power tripping and jealousy, but it's shocking to me how prevalent it is. I say jealousy because the boss knows your degree will allow you to get away from that job someday.
Also, why managers act so surprised when you do quit. Yes, my degree is more important than this stupid retail job.
One of my roommates was working at retail store in the mall in college. He told the manager, finals are coming up, so I can't work Monday, Tuesday, or Friday, but all other days are open. Comes in the Saturday before and he's only scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. He was like, what the fuck? And his manager actually asked, what's more important, your education or your career with Hollister? He worked part-time and his parents were pretty well off. So he said, well, I guess my education is more important than a part-time retail job. I'm only working for beer money. Have fun with your career at Hollister, and walked off the job. We just couldn't believe his manager thought that was a convincing argument. Career at Hollister? Get the fuck out.
At one office job, I quit after the first day because the lady training me would ignore me when our manager wasn't around, and I caught her snooping through my purse when I went to the bathroom. At another job at a clinic, I quit after a month because they made me do a solo receptionist shift without training me on what I needed to do to open the clinic, and then I got yelled at for not knowing what to do, in front of patients. It was so bad, some of the patients came up to me after and asked if I was okay.
I was flat out lied to about the position. It was a management position at a residential mental health facility, and I had taken it, leaving a great paying but stressful position, because it wouldn't require travel and was supposed to be much more laid back. On top of many other issues, I ended up having to work 8 weeks straight without a single day off, even weekends and one holiday. So after a very heated meeting with upper management where one person was flat out lying to cover their own butt, I sent a resignation email from the parking lot.
8 weeks straight? What the fuck was this at a field hospital during World War II?
No, just a poorly staffed program with turnover that would make your jaw drop. Mine did. They were awful to work for, and it was honestly amazing they were still in operation.
One very busy night while waitressing, I was standing at a table of 12 in the middle of taking their order when another waitress came up to me and said our boss wanted us in their office that instant. So I leave my full section in the middle of chaos to go see what the problem is. My boss began to chew us both out because the other girl asked if I would switch shifts with her, and I had agreed. I didn't say anything but was obviously annoyed because I had just left all my tables, thinking there was some sort of emergency. My boss looked at me and asked why I looked mad, and I told him, I feel like this could have been sorted out without me. If you didn't want her to leave early, you could have just told her no instead of pulling me away from our customers. They said, if you're going to have an attitude, get your shit and leave. I said okay, and went to transfer my tables. I was over it. I had worked there 3 years, and the owners were alcoholics that treated us like garbage and spent all the company on themselves instead of getting ingredients to make food or paying their employees. The other waitress came back out and said our boss wanted me back in the office. I went in and they said, put your apron back on. You're not fired. I said, you're both fucking crazy if you think you can treat people the way you do and expect them to want to work for you. And I walked out. As I was leaving, they came out behind me saying I would regret it and was never allowed back if I left. I threw up my middle fingers and kept walking. Funny part is I let my boyfriend take my car to work that night, so I had to walk a mile home and break into my house.
I worked for a call center for AT&T. I refused to try and sell a DirecTV package to a woman who was literally bawling her eyes out on the phone because she was having to switch her phone plan to her name instead of her husband's name because he had just died.
As someone who lost their mom and had to make all the phone calls to disconnect services, thank you for not being a corporate asshole.
Hey, I left AT&T over the same reason. Lady calls in to cancel her deceased husband's phone line. She's a mess, I'm a mess. My stepdad had just passed away a few weeks prior. My supervisor is up my ass wanting me to keep her in contract, upsell, etc. I canceled the account, got off the phone with her, and walked the fuck out. The boss told me I should be sleeping at his house because that's the level of dedication he needed from me. Bye.
Please tell me you're joking.
No, I legitimately think he had brain damage from steroids. He was a true lunatic. Adele came out with a new album around the time I was at that job, and I still get huge anxiety when I hear it because I'm brought back to that time, driving to that job where he would yell at me in front of everyone, then privately texting me that I should sleep at his house. Girls, don't let a man do this to you.
Godfather's Pizza, the manager wouldn't give me my paycheck at 8 p.m. on Sunday because the money might not be in the account yet, but I could pick it up at 9 a.m. Monday. This was decades ago, before direct and mobile deposits. The bank wouldn't be open until the next day anyway. All of the paychecks were literally in his hand at that moment. There were lots of issues before that, but that was the final sign that the manager was completely uninterested in reason. In the next few weeks, nearly everyone else quit. Then the manager was finally fired.
When I was written up for having an attitude toward someone who wasn't management, but who did tell on me after my perceived attitude offended them.
I used to work at the Home Depot years ago as a head cashier. This was in 2003 to 2005. I didn't personally experience this, but I had a lot of the lot guys coming to me telling me that there was one in particular that was giving them problems. He would frequently treat them like he was management without actually being a management. He would also stand around doing nothing while they were working. I ended up firing him. My boss gave me hiring and firing power. I hated having to fire somebody, but after having like 6 different people come to me telling me that he was a problem, I had to do it.
My boss cursed me because I took a phone message for him because he was already on a call. Apparently, he was eagerly awaiting the call I answered and would have preferred I interrupted him. I threw a pencil at the wall, said, "Do I look like a mind reader? Cut me my check. I quit." He tried hard to backpedal, but there had been many previous straws.